Today's topic is historical reenacting.
So what you're saying is reenacting is kind of like reliving history in a way.
It is. It was a lawless time. Hello and welcome to the Pop Culture Contrarian with Andrew and Thomas.
Hello.
Today we do not have...
Wait, hold on, back up. What did you do to your face?
I like it even more on you than I did on Colonel Sanders.
We now join our regularly scheduled programming already in progress.
Today we do not have Sterling with us because he's disappeared forever. Or...
A week.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
We will cry and wail profusely until he returns.
And no, we just take a smile and a little bit of time off.
Indeed.
No, just kidding.
Yes.
We miss Sterling.
We miss him. Yes, we are epically just sobbing every day without Sterling. But I digress.
Yes.
Today on the Pop Culture Contrarian, we have a very interesting topic. But before we get into that, go to patriotpost.us, America's News Digest. We are the oldest conservative news digest on the web. All the news, policy, and opinion that you need to read, free in your inbox. Subscribe today. It is our parent organization, and it is the best thing that you can do to support us is sign up for the Patriot Post. Secondly, patriotpostshop.com. We have merch for sale. I'm not wearing any. We don't have any on the table. But if you've been watching the show or listening long enough, you've seen some of the cool things that we've got available at the shop. So please go to patriotpostshop.com and purchase some epic swag. So Thomas.
Yes.
Today's topic is reenacting or historical reenacting.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, you were just at a reenactment. Is that correct?
I was. And while I was at that reenactment,
yes,
I had a fall-in with an 1880s barber, which is why I might look a little bit different.
That makes so much more sense to me now.
You actually had a barber do that to you.
Well, a barber insofar as my own self.
Okay, now I'm confused again.
A little bit of insight into Andrew here. Andrew is a reenactor.
I am.
How many have you done so far in your life? Can you?
Oh, that's hard to say. I got started in high school,
okay,
which now is probably like 15 years ago or 20 years ago,
okay,
something like that.
Keeps getting farther away.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was my first introduction. I did a few Civil War reenactment battles.
Okay.
As one of the groups I was involved in, a youth organization. That was the focus of the organization, was going to do these things.
Okay.
So that was my first intro, and over the years I've dabbled in it, but about 2 years ago, I kind of reignited my interest. I was recruited to join a group that does exclusively 1880s era stuff.
Okay.
American Western frontier. Really inspired me seeing them at a local event, talked to them, joined up, and so now I've probably done half a dozen events or something like that with them.
Interesting. I have never done anything even remotely involving reenactment. I have, however, been to Gettysburg battlefield, and I have, from a distance, seen reenactors engaging in, I want to say, one of the days of the battle.
Yes.
Reenactment kind of gets I think it gets mocked sometimes in popular culture.
Depending on who
you're talking to. Maybe part of that reason, this is me just guessing, it seems a little bit like cosplay.
It's cosplay, which is short for costume play.
Okay, right.
So how would it be different? How is reenactment not cosplay?
It's a little bit older than cosplay, in my opinion. It really became popular in like the mid-1960s into the 70s and picked up steam from there. The 1970s and 80s were kind of the heyday of historical reenacting.
And what was it focused on in the U.S. at least?
Really a big driving popular segment is American Civil War.
Okay.
Or the war between the states.
Right.
Or the War of Northern Aggression.
Depending on where you are.
who you ask.
Uh-huh.
But the impetus with cosplay, it is generally fictitious characters.
Okay.
And
I mean, it's kind of like dress up, right? You have a favorite character and just dress up.
Sure.
Like them. Reenactment is more than that.
It is. So there's an appreciation to real people, real events, education, and memory of things that happened and the people that went before us. Ancestry, your nation, pride in your nation. So it's not just an appreciation for a story or a genre of entertainment, which nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But it is, in my opinion, a deeper activity, although it is akin to what cosplay is insofar as, yes, you do dress up. Another way it's different is a historical accuracy. And there are people who are just very basic, and there are people who are called stitch Nazis. They will focus on how accurate are the articles of clothing that you have or the equipment that you're using.
Right.
Or any number of ways that you could judge the historical accuracy of things. I don't know that something like that exists in cosplay because, well, it's not real.
True. So, in one sense, what you're saying is reenacting is kind of like reliving history in a way.
It is.
You're dealing with actual events from the past, significant events, I would take it. A lot of them are, like, at least with Civil War, it's battles. Is
correct.
That correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Primarily.
Now, with you said you were 1880s West, American West. What would be more that type of reenactment from 1880s? Is it just kind of like the experience of being in the West at that time?
Yes. The beautiful thing about historical reenacting is you can be anyone.
Okay.
Because it was real life. You could decide, I like the idea of being a shopkeeper and portraying what shopkeepers and general store owners might have been at that time.
It's kind of like Colonial Williamsburg, isn't it? Similar kind of.
It is very similar to that, yes. Now, I would say Colonial Williamsburg is probably the pinnacle.
Okay.
And those are, historians and scholars, and they're paid and frequently live there. So that would be the pinnacle for sure. But they are historical reenactors.
Right.
And I would say they are doing it for the same reason as why many do it, and that is for the appreciation of the history.
Okay.
But again, to your question about the 1880s in the American West, a popular one, of course, is cowboys. That's the historic idea that is kind of in the mind's eye of people all over the world, and especially in America, and was really popularized starting in the 1950s.
The Westerns and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
In pop culture.
Right.
It became, an icon of Americana. Doing the cowboy stuff is part of it, but there are specific people. So Doc Holliday might be one.
Yeah.
Another one, Jeff Smith, a.k.a. Soapy Smith, who was a famous swindler and con man. You could have a persona or an idea of this type of person, or you could be a literal person.
Okay. So in that case, let's say you're a literal person. Is it kind of like a play where you put on a skit or you put on a show where you have a script and you're following kind of the historical record? I mean, how does it look throughout that whole time period that you're on location?
Sure. So there's a couple different events that you'll see. Some of them are private events and some of them are public events.
Okay.
For the public events, which is more like what you're describing, it is mostly for public education.
Okay.
And we do have skits, essentially.
Okay.
But they're based on, as closely as possible, real events. Okay. And those are taken from newspaper articles or records that exist from various parts of the United States in the West and in the South during that time period. The interesting thing about newspapers, especially when it came to small towns, they weren't generally talking about the national news, although they might have had some
reference to things,
big things that, a headline or whatever. But if some individual came into town that day, the newspaper would print the next day, such and such person has come into town. It was
Okay.
almost like
Yeah.
a Facebook page.
Right. Okay. For the local community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not really the way we would envision a newspaper today.
Okay.
But as a result, there are detailed events that happen. Like, for example, just this past weekend, or literally as I'm recording this, just over the last weekend, it will come out on Thursday, we were in Griffin, Georgia, but we were portraying an event that happened in Dothan, Alabama in 1889 called the Dothan Riot. The reason we know exactly what happened is because the newspaper articles depicted the people involved, what they did, what they said,
Okay.
all based on eyewitness testimony. I was portraying a man named George Stringer
Okay.
in this instance, and he was the head of the Farmers Alliance.
So, like, because you were portraying a real person, you must have to do some like background research, read up on this guy, so that you
correct.
can kind of present him as true to life as possible,
Yep.
according to the history.
Yes. And that also reflects in your appearance. So
That's hence the facial hair.
hence the facial hair, yes. So George Stringer, he was a farmer, but he also was a top representative of this organization that was involved in the best interest of the farmers and negotiating with the local town about taxes or ordinances or things that would impact their ability to do commerce. He would have been in courtroom settings or in meetings, etc. So his attire would have been a bit more Sunday best.
So you weren't involved in any gunfights? Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
Yes.
there was some gunfighting involved. Well, just to tell the whole story as briefly as I can, locally in the Dothan Riot, and this is a semi-well-known event, especially if you're from Dothan, Alabama, which is a small town, but they've got a mural on the side of a building that emblazoned in their history. It's sort of a part of who they are.
Right.
There at the time was a young upstart kind of appointed sheriff who was only 19, and he was a tyrant.
Okay.
And was known to bash people over the head, throw them in jail for no reason, and levy exorbitant taxes, wagon taxes,
Okay.
on the farmers bringing their produce through the streets to go and do business.
And this was 1889?
1889, yes.
Wow. Okay.
They were tired of it, the farmers. And in the particular riot scenario that happened, it happened right after a recess from a court appearance from one such altercation where the sheriff had, in fact, beaten George Stringer, the character I was portraying.
Okay.
And there was a legal battle about that
Okay.
going on. And during the recess, everyone went to the saloon, got very angry and inebriated, and poured out into the street. And one guy saw the sheriff, and one of the brothers of George Stringer saw the sheriff, confronted him, said he was a liar.
You think you got away with it again, didn't you? You ain't gonna get away with beating on my brother now. So I don't know how they do it over there in Macon, Marshall, but here in the great state of Alabama, that lie you told in the courtroom, that's called perjury!
It devolved into a massive riot where essentially the whole town just erupted into fighting and gunfire.
Get this trash out of the street. Put him over there with the coke can. Green, come down here. Come on, let's go. Get your trash out of the street. Gord. Hey, stop. Gord. Weapons inside. Come out here. Get your weapons out of the street. Stab in the face, I'll get all of them.
Hey! That's my brother you're hitting over the head.
Take a shotgun back inside.
You can't do that! We're tired of it!
Take a shotgun back inside. Follow warning.
That's what was the really exciting part of this reenactment, I'm sure.
Right. And that's what the public enjoys.
Yeah.
You know, they like to come out and hear guns shooting, and
Yeah.
and of course, you know, we know that all of history was not just shooting guns. All of the West was not just shooting guns. It was a violent time. It was a lawless time in many places, but also there were plenty of lawful towns and quiet towns and normal places, and people did live normal lives.
Right. And it seems like most of them are tied to actual battles, like throughout history. I think
Right. In the Civil War reenacting, that's true.
Right. The Romans, I think, they used to reenact famous battles in the Roman era. And then I think it was the English started doing reenactments of famed battles and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, England is kind of where we get the modern theater from.
Sure.
Shakespeare and all that. This kind of reminds me a little bit. I was thinking kind of like Shakespeare in the Park, this popular thing that comes to towns. I mean, reenacting, when you're focusing, like I said, tends to be more of a violent episode, I guess.
Yeah.
Battles and whatnot.
Decisive moments.
But I guess the other element to it that I think maybe is more so than what you get in the theater, replica articles and clothing and stuff, etc. Like you said, what'd you call them? The Stitch Nazis?
Yeah.
Yeah, where there's an element to it of historical artifacts as well added to it, which
Of course.
I think makes it like a living museum element.
Certainly. And there are different degrees, like I said earlier, of how far you go into that level. So places like Gettysburg or certain national parks or Williamsburg are going to be the pinnacle, where it's just really perfectly museum grade stuff. There'll be others where it is somewhat more just performative and focused on the act of showing or portraying, I guess maybe similar to what you mentioned, like the Romans or the English did, to the end of public education and also appreciation of heritage and history.
The one that you were at this past weekend was open to the public, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so as the day goes on and you're out there, are you at a location? Does the public come and talk to you, ask you questions?
Yes.
Engage with you? So what is that like for you? Are you trying to play the character, or are you just trying to be more didactic and just say, no, this is what this guy was about, etc.? How does that look?
It depends on the character. If it's a prominent character, frequently you'll see them acting as though they are that character.
Okay.
I have never done that myself. I've always been like a lower character or someone who's maybe lesser known. So in that case, I would just say, I'm portraying such and such. This is who he was. These are the elements of his life.
Okay.
This is how he would have gone about his day. The reason he wore such clothing is because of this reason, etc.
Okay.
And then beyond that, we also have displays within the camp. So, for example, we have a saloon, we have a chuck wagon, and these are operating type things. But we do have faro games, which was a very popular gambling apparatus at the time.
Faro.
Faro. The name is Faro. And in fact, Doc Holliday, that was his preferred game.
Okay. Is it a card game?
It is a card game, yes.
Okay. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's a card game, but with like a board. Essentially, you're betting, in a way, it's sort of like roulette, where you're betting money on certain cards that are like stapled to a board, basically, playing against the dealer.
Okay.
And if you get the card drawn, then you win. And if you don't, then the dealer wins. Later on, like closer into the early 20th century, it fell out of popularity for games like poker because of the house advantage.
Okay. Now, I mean, in movies like I think of Tombstone, it's in the classic Western, it's always the poker table.
Yeah. Faro was kind of a predominantly popular game.
Okay. And so that would have been, would places like Tombstone, let's say, would they, because Doc Holliday was there, would Faro have been more popular at the time he was there?
To my understanding, yes.
Really? Interesting. I mean, it just puts an interesting light, because we have what we think we know of history. I mean, in a sense, what reenactments are like historical movies.
Of course.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Right? And they do bring audiences, and they encourage audiences generally, unless they were private events, right?
In some cases, we do private events, and those are for the reenactors to immerse into the time period. And that's really a personal appreciation of how the people, our forebears, lived their lives.
Okay, so that's kind of like experiencing history in a sense of like more immersion experience. You're getting into it. I was thinking of the nature of the origin of holidays, I believe, are kind of as memorials about specific events to a certain culture or nation to remember that.
Sure.
And so, I mean, historically, I think, especially when you think of like Old Testament Israel, you have that idea of they would actually engage in certain practices, in even you could say reenactment of the events that occurred, like the Passover, for example.
Yep.
When they were celebrating that, and I think that was like a 7-day feast or something.
Yeah. In North America and throughout the world, people reenact all kinds of stuff. Like in the UK, there's a bunch of stuff from like the 15th century that people like to do.
I bet. Yeah.
So it kind of depends on who you are as a people and your geographic location.
Right.
So in America, that is probably one of the most decisive events in American history. It is what formed us as a union. So it's very popular, I think, for that reason.
Right.
I also think it's popular because it happened recently in the grand scheme of things, insofar as there are still effects, particularly in the South, which that's a whole nother thing, talking about the attitude towards the Civil War.
Right. I guess form of it that's popular, the medieval, what are they called? Like Renaissance fairs?
Yeah.
Is that kind of like
in a way.
Although
fairs are more for fun. They're not really historically
are they kind
accurate.
they're a little bit more like the cosplay element.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
If people want to get a better idea of sort of the, I guess, cultural drivers of Civil War reenacting in particular, there's a book that is fascinating. It was written in the 90s. It's called Confederates in the Attic. But it was written by Tony Horwitz. And this guy was sort of an investigative journalist type guy. It's not like he was undercover or anything, but he went around and just kind of interviewed and lived with and went to events with a whole bunch of different reenacting type people.
Is there a pretty equal Union versus Confederacy representation of reenactors?
Well, I'd say there's pretty equal. Now, bigger events, it's a bit more set.
Okay.
But that's because there's much more preparation and really specific, like we are this unit from this place depicting this specific.
Okay. That would be something like Gettysburg where you're having.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are like tens of thousands of people.
Right.
Which is amazing. It's kind of like the epic pinnacle of reenacting and or
is
Civil War
it
reenacting.
hard for like Gettysburg reenacting? Is that something you have to like get on a waiting list to get involved in, or is it not that difficult?
I've never done it, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
From what I understand, though, it's one of those big events that can take over a year of preparation, if not more.
Okay.
So there's quite a lot that goes into being a part of that, like top level.
That level.
That's like the top.
Right.
Yeah, the biggest.
So they
one.
must have like annually a major like reenaction of the 3 days of the battle or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty epic.
But like the battles for Chattanooga, like Chickamauga.
Yes.
Did they have an annual reenactment?
They have in the past, but that has lately not been the case.
Okay. Is it just because they just don't have the numbers, the interest?
Well,
is this a growing or a shrinking kind of?
It seems to be a shrinking hobby.
Okay.
Like I mentioned earlier, it was really peaked in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Okay.
And into the 90s too.
All right.
So I guess for 30 years, it was really, really popular, and it seems to be on the decline. Now, there are plenty of young people that I've met, 20s to 30s, who are interested in getting involved, and you actually see a lot of them on Instagram.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's not nearly the level that it once was, and part of that, I suspect, may be due to the financial commitment.
Okay.
But also part of it may just be because, I guess, considerations for...
Well, I mean, if you're talking like young people, cosplay, if they're into that kind of stuff, or like Renaissance fairs, maybe. If you were to just like on the base level, how expensive would it be for you to just say, get involved at...
If you're going to equip yourself very basically, normally getting started, you get loaner gear, so you don't have to buy stuff up front.
Okay.
But I would say you probably need to expect $1,000-$1,500.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's not cheap.
But typically it would occur over a number of years.
Right. Okay.
Building your kit slowly. And that's important because you want to get the right things, and it takes a lot of personal research.
So there's an interesting element to it as well. There's this collection element to it, which I think is kind of cool too. You're looking. So that means you probably have been looking for actual historical or historic articles. I'm sure there's replicas as well.
Yep.
Like I'm thinking, what would be the most common like replica item versus what would be your more actual historical piece?
When it comes to clothing, most people aren't going to have real examples of that stuff. So you're going to be getting replicas or making replicas based on original patterns, that kind of thing. More frequently between the American Civil War or the Western era, 1880s or so, 1870s, firearms are a big one.
Right.
I recently picked up an 1893 Elgin pocket watch, a 7-jewel.
Interesting.
Hunter case. And the main spring is sprung, the crystal's broken, but it's from 1893.
Oh, wow.
And it's like $20.
That's cool.
And it's real, and
That's
so little
interesting.
things like that are kind of neat to have.
Yeah.
And just little personal effects.
Yeah. So there's almost like a little bit of treasure hunting element on
course.
this too.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So I can see it. It's more layered than initially you think when you just see people out marching in different uniforms.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's everything from the items in your pockets to the items in your home. Yeah.
And there's probably an element of also having to learn the skill of these older tools and stuff that
That's
they
right.
had. Yeah.
That's right.
I hope that you're wrong. I hope that there's more people that are attracted to it again, because I do think there's that element of, making it almost like a living history or immersing yourself in history in a way that, I put it this way. I used to teach history, and I can see how there's an element where history is boring when you're just reading it in a book. I don't think so, but I can see how it can get that way. But when you're out there actively kind of engaging in it in a different kind of fashion, I can see how that can really, spark people's interest more deeply, and just given a more of an appreciation maybe for the experiences of, like, imagine doing a cattle drive if you're actually out doing a cattle drive.
From the perspective of the public, and especially kids, it is really important to inspire that curiosity and that appreciation for the people that came before us.
Right.
And that is a key point, especially for our group, is public education. That's a huge part of what we do and why we do what we do. And you as a teacher know that you retain the things that you teach far better than anything that
just being told it to you.
Right. But then also you can retain things if they're more entertaining. It can be easier to retain, especially for kids or the public. So we like to think that what we're doing is one of the best ways to keep history alive and to preserve the memory of our past for future generations.
Yeah. Well, it's good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the little interview on my hobby.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it sounds like there's worse hobbies, right?
Yes. There are worse hobbies. And if we can keep the history alive for the next generation, the memory of this great nation, and the spirit of the people that came before us, I think we're doing a great thing. And I think you should try historical reenacting too, or at least come on out to one. You'd be welcome anytime, a member of the public, to see what we have going on. Thanks so much. This has been the Pop Culture Contrarian. Be sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and listen to us on YouTube or Spotify. Follow us on Spotify. Make sure that you go to patriotpost.us and subscribe. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you later.
Bye.